For the challenge response, I made this staved wood, it's red oak, whiskey barrel, wine barrel, whatever. The hoops on here, they turned out nicer than I had actually hoped. It's about 3 layers of wood glue that I pigmented black, come out kind of brown, but I pigmented glue. And while it was turning slowly in the lathe, just built it up to about a 1/16 of an inch thick, and then turned down to where I was below the level of coloration induced by the.
Well, what was the challenge topic?
Mallets. What was what?
What was the challenge?
Oh, it was really mallet madness.
Okay, I'm wondering what the barrel has to do with a mallet.
Pounded on
So at first it was going to be my mallet. And then I thought I could put hoops on that thing. And then I thought, well, then I have to hold it in my hand. I'm not going to put a handle. I guess I could, but so it's my auctioneer's mallet.
And the mallet's made, is that a horn?
I'm sorry?
The mallet head, is that some kind of a horn? Some kind of a...
It's actually euonymus, which is burning bush. I found one of the rare, normally it has these very heavy 3-sided veins on it. And I found a section that was cylindrical, and just cleaned it up as a rough head mallet. And I have a show and tell. Unlike some people, about 3 years ago, I was at a friend's house, and he said I was the only guy he knew who could use wood. And he had somehow inherited this cutting board. It was 1.5 inch thick maple, probably 2 feet long and 18 inches wide. And it was laying in my garage, in my shop for 3 years. And I'm going to go ahead and give it back to him as a lazy Susan here. I was able to preserve almost the full 18 inches. And it just has I'm not sure what kind of wood this is, but it's a tropical wood bottom with the lazy Susan mechanism captured in between. And it has Odie's oil, which I liked a lot when I was doing small things, but it has so much traction when you go to apply it. It's like putting honey on something. On a big object, I don't really care for it. So I definitely give that, and it's expensive. Gives nice results with 1 coat, but I don't recommend it for a bigger object. So that's mine.
Hi, I'm Mike. Brought a multi-axis candlestick turning. Still working on a shape I really like. This one, I really liked it this way. Turn it this way, and the top's a little too big for my taste. So I can still chuck it in a chuck because this is round, and put this cone in here and turn it down a little bit. So I might fix it.
Is that one piece?
Yeah. It's basically just bumps on a stick like most spindle wood turning. It isn't real difficult to turn. I'd say on a scale of 1 to 5, I give it about a C. So. And then the other thing I have, I just brought because I like these rolly shapes. They're kind of fun. This one I tried to fool everybody. It's not turned at all. It's completely carved. It's just 2 circles. They intersect with the wood carved. You rough cut the shape on a bandsaw and then carve it. So, but it's still fun.
It's like mutant shellfish, or shellfish.
It is. Almost like oysters or something, yeah.
So for the challenge, I made this mallet, which took a lot more time to laminate than it did to turn. It was fun. I enjoyed it, learned something because this is really about the 3rd spindle type turning that I've done because everything else is bowls. So getting to learn to use the spindle tools a little more.
What types of wood are they?
Poplar, sapele, walnut, and cherry. So it was fun. My wife likes it. It's going to be her boy bonker for whacking my son when he acts up. I'm like, cool. But while I was doing that, I had a chunk of cherry burl that just some cutoffs. And I figured, what the heck, I'll just throw it in some epoxy. And this one came out a lot better than I expected. I mean, I like it. I know you can't see it there, but up close, it kind of has a galaxy appearance. The swirl patterns and stuff with that. And it was fun.
What's the finish on that?
Lacquer.
Spray or brush?
Spray.
Rattle can or gun? And you have a spray booth or you spray that from a can?
I have a spray room. Not really ventilated very well. But this one, I think I did this one with rattle can. I can't remember for sure. But I think that was a rattle can. And then this is one that, again, while I was goofing off and waiting on stuff, I had a big chunk of cherry. And when I got it out of the rain and dried out, found out that it was really cracked and nasty and real pithy. So I tried impregnating it with some epoxy, which sort of kind of worked. This part of it, it worked. Down there, it didn't. And so it got real pithy down in here, and it was a real bugger. And this one I put in epoxy top coat and found out I really need to learn a little more about doing that because it didn't go so good. But I don't know if it's just old product or just me, or if it was just too cold when I was applying it. That it was, you were saying about honey. This was molasses in January, trying to put it on, and I don't know, maybe I didn't mix it quite right, but it came out good. My wife likes it, so that's all that matters.
How did you impregnate it with the epoxy?
I was using deep pour slow cure, and so I put it in under vacuum for about an hour and a half, but I couldn't get the entire thing completely submerged. So it only drew it up about halfway up through. But that's all right. Like I said, my wife will use it to put something in.
Hey, I'm Henry. The challenge, I just grabbed a mallet that I use every day. So it is not pretty at all. It's all beat up, but it's a mallet. It is made out of sapele. It was just a chunk of wood I had laying around. It has the hole from the tailstock in the bottom and the marks from the spur drive and the other. So whatever. It's a mallet. And then the bigger item I have is a catalpa bowl that I cored. Before I cored it, it had this big void across the bottom that I filled with epoxy. So yeah, it's a catalpa crotch piece. Has some really nice feathering in there.
Did you fill it with epoxy before you poured it or after you poured it?
Before I just dammed it up and poured it in because it was a pretty big void. Unfortunately, I turned most of it away. There's a little bit of it showing on the inside here, but not a whole lot of it. And then now
cord green or dry?
it was still somewhat green, yeah. And I actually finished it somewhat green, which we'll see how that works out. And I upgraded my lathe back in December, got a bigger lathe. Now I need to get a bigger coring system too, because the coring system is not big enough for a bowl this size. And in the process of coring it, I couldn't, because I was trying to go for the size of the core, I couldn't get in far enough. I ended up with about a 2-inch diameter stub left in the middle. And in the process of wrenching this thing out of there, I broke it. But I really didn't want to lose the nice catalpa. So I ended up putting that piece back in, just raise it up a little bit and poured epoxy in there. So.
What's the finish on
It is the Axe abrasive paste and finishing restoring wax. And then this is the little guy that from the
it? That's
inside.
from the
of it.
same core?
Correct. So I have a full nesting set.
Isn't there a special Japanese name for breaking something and putting it back together?
There is, I forget what it's called, but I think I should have used gold epoxy
No, that's okay.
to fill that in. Yes, there is a Japanese name for that. So, but yes, it's just an abrasive paste and a restoring wax finish. But then I did hit it with a buffing wheel as well. So gives it the extra shine. And this finished bowl measures about 15 inches in diameter. So
Very nice, Henry.
thank you.
Well, like Henry, I didn't turn a new mallet. I just took the mallets that I have that I use. I did turn a new face on this. This is what it looks like normally. These are both turned from Cocobolo, circa 1990. I got the Cocobolo 4x4x24 from Constantine's in the Bronx. Anybody know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, two. When I didn't have any money, I would go to Constantine's and spend money I didn't have and buy Cocobolo, Bubinga, Zebra Wood, and some of them, what billets I still have. So that's these. This came out from Strasbourg. This is Lignum Vitae. I believe that the handle is Lignum Vitae. Actually, an antique mallet that I bought at the antique store, but I use it too. But it stood up a lot better than the Cocobolo.
Everybody has to feel the heft of the lignum vitae.
Well, I've been experimenting with magnet boxes for a long time. And for a long time, I made them this way. So they have a thick rim here because there's magnets buried in there. And you do that with a 3-part flank, which I'll explain in detail at the May demo. So the magnets are buried in the wood and the lid stays on. So that's what I've been trying to do. But I don't want them to be this thick. I want to have a lighter box. So I've been experimenting with what can I do instead. So at first I made these with the center magnet. This is a 2-sided one. So this is for your morning meds and your evening meds, if you like, or your vitamins or whatever. This is pear wood. So that was not a bad solution, but I still don't like the post in the middle with the magnets. So then I tried, okay, let's see. I tried gluing them on the edge of them over here. These are all magnets in here. So this is for sanding discs. This is for Doug. So you can open it and each piece opens up. So each piece in the stack is a symmetrical piece. It has a same. See what I mean? It has bottom, top. So the bottom's the lid, the top's the next box, and they just fit on. This is for sanding discs. So I can't turn well enough to make this fit tight. This is why it has all this bounce in it. And the bounce in it is from not being dead accurate in how this fits together. And the ears are a pain in the butt to get glued on there. So that wasn't a good solution either. So then I don't know why I hadn't thought of this years ago, but then I realized that you could put the magnets in the wall of the box. And this one is jammed for a good reason. Yeah. There's a magnet there and there's another one there. And there's one over here and one over here. The reason this one jammed, this is the first or one of the early ones in the series. The wall's too thick, so it's got a hole full of plastic there. And one of the magnets is proud. If you have a proud magnet, you seeing it? Yeah. If you have a proud magnet, then that magnet is going to stick tight. And they're going to bang together and they'll finally chip. So the magnet has to be below the surface of the wood is what I realized. So then I made this one. And this one is so damn tight, it's almost impossible to get open. But it has 3 magnets. And it's, I think, I count it as a success. This is Cocobolo. And it's, I don't know what you can put in it, but whatever you put in it, it's going to stay in there. It's going to, the point was to make boxes. It'll stay closed in your pocket or your purse or your suitcase when you go traveling. So then I made this one, and I'm pretty happy with this one. This is where I'm going with this. Now my next thing is to make these smaller. This one also has 3 magnets, and the wall's thickness is just about exactly the magnet thickness minus a smidge, so they can be set down under the surface here, and they don't quite bang together. So I'm kind of happy with that. So that's where I'm going with magnet boxes, and as I say, my current challenge is to make this work, to do this again, to make it work, but make them smaller. And that hasn't turned out to be quite so easy. I screwed up 2 of them today, so more to come. That's me.
Where did you get the magnets, John, for that?
I buy them at K&J Magnetics.
And how thick are they?
These are mostly 3/16 by 1/8.
Okay.
Or 3/16 by 1/16. I can't remember which. These I think are 3/16 by 1/8. You can get magnets any dimension and any thickness from K&J. KJ Magnetics. They're based in PA somewhere. They've got every conceivable magnet size you could possibly imagine.
The diameter of the box, or the circumference of the box, has to be big enough that the curvature of the wood
Right.
doesn't allow the magnet to be proud.
Right.
So there is a size limitation, or you have to put 4 tinier magnets.
There's some equation in there like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure quite what the details of that is. And there's also, is it, you want 3 magnets, 3 pairs of magnets, 2 pairs of magnets, one pair of magnets. I'm finding 3 works pretty good. I'm finding when I did 2, and some things I didn't bring tonight. Oh, this one's 2. It has a rock. It doesn't. It's not snug.
With the rare earth magnets, is it possible that you could put them on the inside of the box, and when you open the box up, they wouldn't go through the wood because they're so strong, right? If you put,
Oh yeah, from a magnet's point of
hide it.
view, wood and air are the same. But the problem is, okay, now how do I drill the holes in there? What I actually do is turn the box, turn the discs, turn the inside of the lid and the outside of the box, tape them together and drill them once, so the holes line up. It's the only way I found to do it. It's accurate.
but then you've got holes all the way through the outside of the box.
That's true. I don't have a way of.
Ring.
Pardon?
What if instead of the bottom of the box being one piece, you did a ring of the same wood, inset the ring in the flat of the bottom, and then you could drill through the ring
Yes.
from the inside, right?
I could figure out a way to do that,
Yeah.
the same as these are like multiplayer
Yeah.
layer glue up. And I'm trying to get away from that. I mean, there's more time in making the blank than there is in the box in one of these. And I'd like to just be able to make the box. So and they're kind of decorative. I don't mind them. I even found you can get gold magnets, gold anodized magnets.
Is that more time savings than threading the box? Is that why you're doing it?
I don't know how to do threading. I've tried to make apparatus for threading and have failed. I also don't know how to make a tight, snug fit. When I do that, I either get it too snug or too loose. And I'm just not able to. I mean, I see the things that Angelo makes where the fit is like a solid inch of sliding box and it's just perfect. I admire that, but I don't know how to do it. So this is the thing with this one is too tight. I thought it was loose enough. When the wood moves even a little bit, it wants to be loose, but only a little bit loose, not too loose. But I can make a little bit loose. I can't make exactly tight.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Company sells these magnets all the way down to a 32nd of an inch tall. I think it's 16 inch diameter.
Well, I used to work on the, what's that at the fair they have with that giant scale where you whack it?
Yeah,
What has waited years to present this mallet?
I have never found a use for this mallet my entire life.
They call that a commander. That's a timber framing.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I believe it, but the reason I brought it in is the same reason other people did. I have 2 historic mallets, and this one actually was made for my grandfather or by my grandfather. It's marked March 2000 or 1920, so it's 100 years old now. And I don't think it was turned on a lathe on the outside, but the handle must have been because the handle's round. So at least the lathe evolved somewhat. And I also brought a second one of my favorites from my shop is my other grandfather, my dad's side. And this was in his shop. I have no idea if he made it or if he bought it, but or if he, what he did, but it's it's fun to be able to use tools that are handed down. That's just part of it.
timber framers have mallets they call commanders and persuaders.
Okay,
Yeah.
that would be a persuader.
Yeah.
But I did make my own mallet. So, and this happened to be a piece of cherry that was sitting around the shop. It was almost that shape. And I thought, well, now that would make a decent mallet. So why not just, instead of burning it or making something else? And I found out that's actually quite a handy size. I was trying to do some fit for making balls and stuff like that, and doing them. Well, and it turned out that was just perfect. The last thing I had to bring in tonight is this vessel here. On January, on the January demonstration, I was talking about off-center turning. I never got quite around to the turning point, so I made this. This is the end result of the demonstration work. It's maple. I curved the back of it a little bit. It's done with a high gloss polyurethane coating, and then I used a peel polish on it afterwards. I'd like to say that if you take a close look at it, I don't know if you can see it or not, but if you took these three bowl sections separately and had cut them out separately, you'd have sworn they never came from the same piece of wood. So the only reason you know it comes from the same piece of wood is still all combined. But that was a final process. Anyway, that's my show and tell for tonight. Thank you.
For my challenge submission, I did carving mallets. There was an article in AAW on one of the issues on their website. I found that these are 1/2-inch deep sockets that I put a carriage bolt through, and then inside there are BBs. So I'll act like a dead blow mallet. So this one was maple on the back, and then cherry. And then the last one was Spectra ply blind. And I had never turned Spectra ply. It's a lot of fun. But the mallets are finished off with, I have this indent here sort of where you could index your hand. So you get a little more control there, or keep your hand from slipping up. I ran into a bit of a snag because the 1/2-inch sockets, I thought I'll just get 1/2-inch carriage bolts, but they have a hole drilled through them that isn't 1/2 inch, it's smaller than that. And they are, the sockets are so hardened, you can't drill it. So I had to use a 3/8. What I ended up doing, hopefully I don't get BBs everywhere. John, I might borrow one of your containers.
But you could just put them next to the container. They are full of magnets.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's true. So the 3/8-inch carriage bolt would spin inside the 1/2-inch socket, but I got a piece of 1/2-inch square tube and just cut it with a hacksaw, and then that fits inside. And then my 3/8 carriage bolt will not spin in the socket. So, and then averaged out how many BBs I want, so it's kind of like a dead blow hammer. And that's my mallet submission. Next month's challenge is astronomy for April. So do space themed things.
What?
Astronomy for April. So anything space themed.
Get out of your way. No, you're good. So before I knew there was a challenge this month to turn a mallet, I had made a mallet out of a piece of maple, and I like the shape. It has a branch growing out of it, so it's probably not the strongest, but I'm not going to hold it back here. So I've used it and it seems fine. I like the shape, it's comfortable. So I was going to turn another one, and I watched Richard Raffin turn one, and it was smooth and he didn't sand it, and he was so proud. I said, I can do that. So it was about this shape, but I was trying to learn the skew at the same time. And every time I came close to a smooth surface, I'd get a catch, and I'd turn it down and I'd turn it down, and pretty soon it turned out to be that. And then I sanded the hell out of it. So this was when I learned that there was a challenge. I said, oh, I'll do a nice one. Well, it's tiny, so if you're carving something light, I suppose it'll work.
I showed this to John, a picture of this a few weeks ago. Found this piece of firewood and I thought, well, that looks like a really nasty piece of wood. I think I'll try to turn it just to see what it's like to turn a gnarly piece of wood. And it was about this big, and now it's about this big. It's got cracks. I was watching a John Jordan video the other day. He didn't believe in turning crappy wood. Well, I did.
What does he know?
What is it? I have a lot more than me. It was still fun. It was really, really difficult grain because it was a crotch piece of firewood. Has a split, but it was still kind of fun to turn. My wife wanted a yarn bowl, so I glued three pieces of ash together, and I turned this yarn bowl. And I watched a whole bunch of videos about how to cut the J hook or slot. My piece had, I think he used every piece of every saw and whatever in his shop. Well, I did the same thing. I ended up using my Fordham rotary tool. It's not a very good slot, but that was number one. And my wife said, well, she had a ball of yarn, and it was as big as this bowl. So then I laminated three pieces of walnut, and I'm working on that one now. I showed this the other day on the coffee hour. I just can't get the sanding marks out of it. And she said, it looks just fine. Just leave it like it is. So I'm not sure what I'll do with it. But I will cut a better J slot, I promise. So that's what I have.
Mike Quirk.
Hi. This mallet, one of the, I think, first things I turned 2 years ago when I got my lathe. And as it turned out, it's a piece of, I think it's an old Christmas tree. And I use it and I beat it up. And it's pretty beat up. So then a few weeks ago, I turned this one. This is maple. And this is small for, I might be doing some carving sometime in the future. So I have a nice small one and little dimples. It can concave bottom and top, so it'll stand. And then just today, I've not been able to get out into the shop for a while. This is ash that neighbor was having some tree work done. And the tree guys were nice enough and they gave me a bunch of ash. So this is about 11 inches long. And I just turned this today. I have a finish of walnut oil. So that's it.
I got to tell you, I made an ash mallet one time, and as soon as I started to use it, it started to delaminate along the soft spring wood.
Well, I figured they make baseball bats out of it, but I had a nice thick piece of wood, so I decided to use that. I do have some maple, some logs that I'll make some more. It's a good practice with the skew. And I did make a catch that my diameter got a little bit smaller than intended. But that's it.